Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. May Allah bless you all and your families. Ramadan Mubarak. May Allah reward you all for joining us. I always prefer interactive talks over one-way lectures, although I do give both. But I don't know if anyone is in the mood. You guys are fasting. I don't know if anyone wants to be called on. Let's give it a try. Who's heard the term the slave mindset? What's the slave mindset? Don't be shy. Don't worry, we won't be negative throughout the whole talk, inshallah. What's the slave mindset? Or the colonized mindset? What's the colonized mindset? Sisters, brothers? Brother, please. A man-made belief, 100%. There are man-made beliefs. They're also not just beliefs, they're mindsets. They are diseases, they are sicknesses, they are pathologies, they are incorrect beliefs, incorrect mindsets, 100%. What else? What's the slave mindset or the colonized mindset? Like if you don't have like a dictionary definition of it, that's okay, but how about like an example of it? Have you heard the term? Have you guys heard the term or no? Example? An example, brother? Can you tell me? I can't hear him. What did he say? Being programmed. That's good. You can't think for yourself. You're not an independent thinker. I love it. The colonized mindset. Our audience, a lot of us, right? Arab, Indian, Pakistani, Somali, Sudani, Afghani, Tajik, Uzbek, what are we? Most of us, or our parents, immigrated here. The immigrant mindset or the colonized mindset. Talk to me about it. What does it mean? Is there anything wrong with being an immigrant? No. You don't choose it. Or you choose it, but it's neutral. But what's the colonized mindset? Things to be aware of so you can try your best to work on them. There are specific diseases, sicknesses, psycho and spiritual, that can be associated with some of these mindsets. Anybody? These are tough questions. The colonized mindset, the slave mindset, they're not the same, but there's an overlap, right? If you or your ancestors were enslaved, if your parents come from countries that were colonized, there's always a power above you. There's always people telling you what to do. That even if you are not, or no longer under those authorities, or no longer enshackled in that way, you might still constantly need permission. Constantly look to authority. Constantly ask for help. Constantly want to be rescued. If you need permission to do basic things, if your gut tells you you're hungry, thirsty, etc. If you're a certain age as a boy and you feel like I want to explore XYZ, if you're in college and decide that I want to change my major, if you feel like entrepreneurship is better for me and maybe not, I don't want to be an employee at XYZ company, many other examples. I want to choose who to marry, but I need someone's permission. I mean, the sister Islamically needs her wedding's permission. So that's an exception to the rule. The general rule of you have basic needs. You don't need to beg somebody to give you permission to do what you need to do to survive and live and thrive, yeah? Part of the slave and colonized mindset is you need someone's approval. You need someone to tell you you're okay, to give you a thumbs up. Okay, if you're 5 or 6 or 7, but when you're a grown adult, you don't need anyone's approval. You don't need anyone's permission. No one has to say it's okay for you to grow your beard, You don't need anybody to tell you your hijab looks beautiful to put on the hijab. You do it for you do it for Allah. You don't need anyone's approval, anyone's permission. Everyone in society is taking off their clothes and you're putting on your clothes. Nothing wrong with that. You're not enslaved to society, right? Of course, some of you were thinking as soon as I started about the slave mindset is, well, we are slaves. We're slaves of Allah. Like my name, Abdullah. Yes, not the same thing. Because Allah is different than anyone and anything else. So our relationship with Allah is different than our relationship with anyone and anything else. Being enslaved to Allah, that's a positive. Being enslaved to anyone or anything else, not a positive. But yes, it's true to say we are slaves by nature. We are human beings. We're slaves by nature. We're not gods. When we're hungry, we eat. When we're thirsty, we drink water. When we're sleepy, we have to sleep. How many days are you going to push your sleep? You need to sleep, right? So we're slaves. We didn't choose our own DNA. We don't choose our genetics. We didn't choose our height and our skin color, our eye color, our skin. So many things, and they matter. They have an impact on our lives. We didn't get to choose them. We're not gods. We're human. We're slaves by nature. We didn't choose our genetics. And in the battle of nature versus nurture, in fact, we didn't choose either of them. Because you don't choose the environment which you were born and raised in. You didn't choose who your parents are. Nobody in human history ever chose their parents. Nobody in human history ever chose their parents. But Allah chose them for you. But you didn't choose the environment which you grew up in. What socioeconomic status your parents were, what schools you went to as a kid. They definitely had an impact on you. So nature, your genetics, and nurture, the environment around you, you didn't choose either of them. And psychology says these are the things that impact your decisions. You didn't choose these things. So we're enslaved in that sense. But still, you have a choice. Especially at a certain age, you have a choice. You have a choice to follow societal trends and pressures. You have a choice who to worship. You have a choice who to enslave yourself to. We're slaves by nature, but you can choose your master. You can choose who to worship. If you run after the dollar bill, you're enslaved to it. Money is God for a lot of people. In fact, someone could argue that in America, the God is money. Because even Jesus and religion and all the churches and all the crosses, even all the different ideologies, it still goes under money. Those are big businesses, right? And on the left wing and right wing in the US, there's still big businesses on both sides. They might be into different industries, they might be promoting different policies, they might, have different people that are spokesmen on both sides. But at the end of it, they're just different industries, different businesses. It's money at the end of the day. So people worship money, people worship fame. People wear high heels, although it really hurts their feet, because what are people going to say? You're enslaved to their opinions of you. You're enslaved to society. There's so many other examples. Everybody worships either someone or something. But you have a choice as an adult, rational human being. You have a choice who or what to enslave yourself to. How can you choose anything besides enslaving yourself to Allah? If you're going to choose your master and you have to choose someone or something, we're slaves by nature. If you're going to choose, why would you choose anyone or anything besides the most powerful, the most knowing, the all-knowledgeable? If you're going to have a master, if you're going to be a slave, you want to slave yourself to Allah who has the dominion of the heavens and the earth. He has all the treasures and all the money and all the wealth and all the powers and resources. That's going to be my master. If I'm going to have to blindly obey someone or something, I'm going to blindly obey Allah, but no one or anything else. Blind obedience is only for Allah and His Messenger. Even our parents, we put them at the highest level. You don't have to blindly obey them. They're human beings. They're not perfect. You obey them as much as you can, but you don't have to blindly obey them. Like I said, you can choose your major, choose who to marry, make decisions. The slave and colonized mindset. I'm gonna continue, and if there'll be a Q&A, inshallah, if you guys want to ask questions on these things. Internalized racism and internalized Islamophobia. It's another analogy. They're not the same, but people have written on this. There's research articles on this topic. A black leader telling a black audience that black is beautiful. Makes no sense, but it does. That's the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s in America. Why? Why would someone like Muhammad Ali say black is beautiful? Why would a black leader tell a black audience that black is beautiful? It does make sense. There's a reason for it. It makes no sense, but there's a reason for it. It's because for centuries, you're told directly and indirectly, and to a certain extent you accept it, that white is right, that they're prettier than us, they're more beautiful than us, they're smarter than us, they're more intelligent than us, they're more capable and competent and they're better than us. To an extent that you might even believe that they're more righteous than us. Why? Jesus is white. God is white, or the Son of God is white. You're not white, so they must be better than us. No one has to say it. It's in the back of your minds. Right? So the slave mindset, the colonized mindset, internalized racism, internalized Islamophobia, is that Muslims have constantly heard now for so many years how violent Muslims are. Every time it's in the news, Muslims are violent. Every time something evil happened, it was Muslims. Every time it's a bearded Muslim man, he's doing something wrong. Until you start believing as a Muslim what? Muslims are inherently evil, inherently violent, inherently... No, we're not. We're objectively the most peaceful people on the planet. In fact, sometimes we're way too peaceful. If someone bullies your kid in school, you should say something. You don't stay quiet. That's not peaceful. You have an opportunity to stop an injustice. You're a violent person to not stop it. In our religion, we're not allowed to harm other people. We're not allowed to let people harm us. And you can't allow someone to harm someone else if you're able to stop it. But we've internalized this idea that we're violent by nature. Muslims are the most peaceful people on the planet. We're bullied all over the world. In minor ways and in major ways. The Uyghur Muslims in China, millions and millions of them, we've been fasting, they've been forced. You guys have seen this stuff on social media. I don't want to go into it. It hurts to even talk about it. But you know what they've been going through? They've gone through everything. And then there are people in France, maybe it's an easier life than India and China, the Muslims, what's happening to them over there. But they're soccer players that are playing and they're not allowed to break their fast in Ramadan. That Islamophobia is just on the left and it's on the right. Quote unquote liberal, secular people, there's Islamophobia on the left. And the right wing people, it just looks different. Some of them invade your country and others will try to, mess your heart and minds and infiltrate your kids and alhamdulillah for everything. A number of these different mindsets and complexes, and for those who joined us a little bit later, these are diseases, pathologies, sicknesses that we want to rid ourselves of, inshallah. And I'm starting a little bit negative, but it'll get positive, inshallah. We'll talk about the solution. There are a list of inferiority complexes, and I beg you, I implore you, I encourage you to try your best to overcome all of them. In your lifetime, try to have no inferiority complex. You're not lesser, you're not better than anyone, because that's arrogance, that's the biggest sin. You're not trying to be like the devil, but you're also not lesser than anyone. I don't care if they're bigger than you, taller than you, stronger than you, have more money than you. I don't care if they've been in Boston for centuries. right? And they came in the Mayflower. I don't care who their parents were. I don't care who their daddy is. They're not better than you, but you're also not better than anyone. But have no inferiority complexes. We put our face on the ground and worship Allah. Allah alone. You don't have an inferiority complex towards Allah, not towards anyone or anything else. The white savior complex. We need someone to come save us. Yeah? Waiting, this one, with all due respect, I don't think I've heard this from anyone else. I think I came up with this one, but I could be wrong. The waiting for the Mahdi mindset. Waiting for the Mahdi mindset. Who thinks they know what that's about? I think you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Waiting for the Mahdi mindset. What is that about? So we can't give all the khutbahs about what's going on around the world. We can't do anything. There's no hope. Oh, look at Kashmir and Palestine and the Uyghur and Rohingya. But we're waiting for the Mahdi. And Muslims all over the world are so disunited. We're like the biggest group of people on the planet. Now, it's never been about quantity. It's always been about quality. We have money. There's parts of the world where the Muslims are the richest in the world. We have resources. We have land. We're across it in every country. We're influential in many industries. But somehow 1.9 billion, but we can't do anything. Can't do anything. We're not top of the world. Fine. We don't have all the money. We're not more powerful than other people. Okay. But we act like we have nothing. You see? It's a pathology. Excuse me. It's a mindset. You choose how to see it. You can look at the world and try to be objective and be like, we have issues, we have problems, we want to solve them. Certain countries, Muslims are really struggling, and others in America, we're doing okay. But others you can just give up and be hopeless and say, we're waiting for the Mahdi. Did you know that Muslims did that at every century in Islamic history? Whenever big things happened, like the Crusades and the Mongols invading, we're talking about hundreds of years ago, there were Muslims that kind of gave up and said, well, the Mahdi, it's the end of times. It is the end of, Muhammad ﷺ being a prophet was the beginning of the end of times. The end of times started. That's the last chapter of human history. So yes, it could be 50, 100 years from now, but it also could be another few hundred years. Regardless of whether the day of judgment is 50 years from now or 1,000 years from now. How does it really matter? You're most likely not going to be alive 50 years from now. And maybe you will be. Maybe it's your kids or grandkids, regardless. You could die tomorrow. So these 50 years or 1,000 years, it's like being in a swimming pool. If the swimming pool is 10 feet or 100 feet, it matters to some people psychologically, but really it doesn't really matter. You need to know how to swim. Yes? If the swimming pool is 10 feet below you or it's 100 feet below you, one sounds scarier, but really it's the same thing. You're not going to stand in 10 feet, you got to swim. So if the day of judgment is 100 years from now, let's not say 50, some of us will be alive, we're 20s, you'll be 70 inshallah. If the day of judgment is 100 years from now, or it's 1,000 years from now, what difference is it? What matters is that you have today, you're not guaranteed tomorrow. That's what really matters. Just waiting for the Mahdi mindset, we can't do anything until the Mahdi comes back. We're powerless. Not powerless. It's nonsense. And for the young people in the audience, who you follow on social media matters. It's the mindset. It's who you support and who you promote. It's your value system. It matters. It's not just a click, a like, a follow, a subscribe. It matters a lot. If you're still following people like Logan Paul and Jake Paul and KSI and these people, shame on you. You're wasting your time. And inshallah, I don't know if you guys follow this guy on Instagram. I encourage you to do so. Do you guys know Muhsin Kaysen, the Muslim boxer? I think he's out of Philly or Baltimore. I forget. This brother, he led Tarawih during Ramadan. And inshallah, give him another couple of months, a couple of years. Some of these big boxers, he's going to knock them out, inshallah. He's on his way to being a heavyweight champion. His older brother was a heavyweight champion. I love and respect him a lot. He led Tarawih during Ramadan. He memorized the whole Quran and he's a heavyweight champion. He's a professional boxer. If you're going to follow someone on social media, you follow people like that. He's funny. He recites Quran and he's a boxer. He's an athlete. He has a great social media page. Why are you following people that every like, comment, subscribe, etc. you give them, you're promoting their lifestyle? You know what these people do behind closed doors? If he's a boxer or a YouTuber, he's a celebrity, he travels, he blogs, whatever he does, he or she does. The models, the OnlyFans, you're supporting their lifestyle. You're giving them more money and more brand deals. They're going to use that to commit more zina, to be involved in more shady business deals, to do more drugs and more alcohol. They make the money from social media and then they go smoke weed with their friends. So if you don't believe in weed and smoking also, make sure you know who you're following and commenting on, and who you're liking, who you're subscribing to. It matters. A small example of something how your life matters. Every one of us has a phone, and even if you have no money and you're in college, you probably spend a couple hours on your phone. So those likes, comments, subscribers, think of that as your money. One day you're going to have money, you're going to decide where you want to donate to, which masjid, which organization, which cause you want to support. Well, right now, who you like, comment, subscribe on, that's your impact. It's big. It matters. You should choose very cautiously, carefully what you consume. In Ramadan, we talk about eating and drinking, but what you consume is also what you look at and what you listen to and what you talk about and who you're around. What group chats are you part of? And how do you interact with these group chats? I'll be first to say I'm very guilty of spending hours scrolling through nonsense, looking at things I shouldn't be looking at, listening to things I shouldn't be listening to, talking about things I shouldn't be talking about. As an imam or just as a Muslim or just as a human being, I've made these mistakes. But I love you so much and I want you not to make these mistakes, inshallah, and I encourage you not to. I hope Allah will forgive all of us for all of our mistakes. A lot of us here are born and raised in the US. You're constantly following other people. We follow a list of celebrities and politicians and musicians and artists and actors and athletes. But you realize that you have the opportunity in a city like Boston, and a city like Houston, and Omaha, and New York, and Chicago, and LA, the cities that we're part of. You have an opportunity to lead. You don't have to constantly be following, right? No inferiority complexes towards anyone, please. No inferiority complexes towards anyone. Don't put anyone above you, but don't put anyone below you. But you have an opportunity to lead. And if Muslims are 1% of America, that's kind of tough for us. You walk around, you don't see a lot of people wearing hijab in Boston. Fine. Right? And you have a beard and it's a Muslim beard. A lot of people don't have that in the US, right? 1%. It's tough to be 1%. But guess what? 1% can lead the 99%. In a company, what percentage are leadership, what percentage are employees? Just as an example. The majority are employees, and there's levels. The majority are not the CEO / the board / the executive / the management. That's like probably 1, 5, 10%, right? 1% of America are Muslims. We can lead the 99%. But it comes down to your mindset. Okay, on the positive note, and solutions, I did kind of incorporate a little bit of it, but solutions-wise, what we need is tawakkul. To love, hope, fear, and trust Allah, not necessarily anyone or anything besides Allah. Or we love other people, we love our parents, we love our friends. But to have your whole heart surrounded by, encapsulated by, obsessed with anything besides Allah, it's a loser's mindset. It's a loser's game. You're not going to win that. Taqwa is a term that we use all the time, right? It's like almost every khutbah, every halaqah, every talk, taqwa. Taqwa, if you want to translate it to English, is love, hope, and fear. We love Allah more than we love anyone or anything else. We fear Allah, we don't fear anyone or anything else. We put our hope and trust in Allah, not in anyone or anything else. Right? And tawakkul is part of that hope and trust and fear. Just like 30 minutes ago, I was outside speaking to some Muslims that are new to this country. May Allah bless them and protect them. It's tough to come here from another country. I know because my parents came from other countries. And they're brand new, so they have a whole list of obstacles, inshallah, that they will overcome in terms of this education system and the studies and the work. It's not easy. But also the education, also the language and the culture. But they asked me, they're like, why are you taking a picture with the street sign? Who's Malcolm X? Who's Imam Malik? And of course, many of you, if not all of you, know who he is, but I had to say a few words. May Allah have mercy on him. Him and his students and his family members and others that were inspired by him are among the people that inspired me in cities like Houston. I don't know if you all know this, but his dream or his vision was, what do you guys think? What was Malcolm X's vision? Freedom? I like that. That's beautiful. You know how earlier we were talking about the slavery? We're enslaved to Allah, we're slaves by nature, but we can choose our master. So the Islamic philosophical view on freedom is that you can never be truly free as a human, we're not gods, but you can choose your master and that frees you from all the other shackles that could be enslaving you. Is that beautiful? Do you like that? Is that good? Freedom through worshipping Allah. Freedom through enslaving yourself to the Creator. Malcolm X said, I want to dismantle a global white supremacist system and encourage humanity to bow down to their Creator. Yo, let's go. Was that good? It's not my words. I want to dismantle a global white supremacist system. And he said that with no social media and no internet. Right? I was about to say no planes and no trains, but there were planes and trains. But no social media, no internet, no phones, no computers. I want to dismantle a global white supremacist system and encourage humanity to bow down to their Creator. Right? It's a two-part vision. It's truth and justice. Right? To know about Allah and then establish social justice. May Allah have mercy on him and those who were inspired by him and those who follow the path of prophets and leaders that sacrifice a lot for us. May Allah allow us to follow their footsteps. Say Ameen. I've given talks like this and similar talks, and I talk about some of these topics in many different masajid around the US and high schools and universities, and a lot of times the high school, college kids find it exciting, it's hype, it's motivational. A lot of the parents come to me and say, Abdullah, we understand, like, Abdullah, just relax, just chill, like, how about the FBI and like we're at the masjid and people are listening to it. Yo, stop it, just stop it. They're doing their job. Law enforcement, what's their job? Law enforcement, what's their job? Officially, on paper, law enforcement, what's their job? To protect and serve. All right, we can argue whether they're doing their job well or not, right? But that's their job. Are we doing our job? That's why I'm asking you. Are we doing our job? What's our job? Now, I know some of you here are security, but I mean, that aside, the rest of us, Muslims in America, what's our job? Allah told us in the Quran, our job is to what? He said, I did not create you for any other reason except to? I did not create, the ayah says specifically, I created you for no other reason except to worship Allah. But let's add on to that. It's implied that if your goal is to worship Allah, it's not just that you pray your 5 prayers. And worship is a lot broader than just to pray. Right? That's not prayer and worship is not the same. Prayer is one slice of one part of the pie. Because your personal ibadat, your personal rituals, you're praying, dhikr, dua, Quran, siyam, salah, you're fasting, charity, hajj, umrah, remembrance of God, reading Quran, supplicating, etc., etc. All of that, so prayer is just part of that. And all the things you do in the masjid and outside of it, all that is one slice of the pie. That's your personal ibadah, your personal acts of worship, your personal rituals. But worshipping Allah and basically our Islam is way wider than that. Your relationship, your relationship with everyone around you, at the masjid and outside the masjid, at the campus, at Harvard and at MIT and at Tufts and UMass and Northeastern and Northwestern, and Boston College and Boston University, and Brandeis University, and all the medical schools and law firms and engineering companies that you guys all work for, mashallah, and the masajid you guys visit, and the theaters you guys go to, and the malls you guys shop at, and the airports we go to, how you interact with everybody there, your relationship with them, and your parents, and your neighbors, and your classmates, and your coworkers, and your kids, and your friends, all of that is part of our Islam and our worship and our relationship with Allah. So a lot of times, and it's part of the colonized mindset, is to take Islam, and our purpose is to worship Allah. It's just the masjid, prayer during prayer time. You're a different person outside of prayer time. I know you guys heard this a lot, but you can see it. If you're paying attention to it, you'll see it all the time. You and people around you. It's hurting us a lot. It's really hurting us a lot. And then someone comes to the masjid that's not, praying all their prayers yet, or they're learning about Islam. You're there at all the prayers, but you're not really a Muslim outside of prayers. You treat them badly. You see their tattoos and their piercings and the way they walk and talk and stuff. You just treat them badly. And maybe that's not so common in Boston, but I've been to a lot of other cities and smaller towns, and it's very common. I've been there when people have a person that's not even a new Muslim, a person that's not even Muslim yet. They came to the masjid, put on a abaya and a hijab, a Muslim sister, to come ask questions about Islam. And they told her, how come you bringing this food? And is there pork in there? Like, she's bringing food to a potluck, and it was turkey and cheese and pork. She didn't know. I told her to remove the pork, and they're like, the plastic thing still says pork. Like, she didn't know. She just walked into the masjid to learn about Islam. So what if she brought pork? Don't eat it. She's not forcing you to eat it. She didn't know. Sometimes our community, may Allah forgive us, man, we're too much. They're doing their job. Don't complain about, we love to complain about all the other groups. Law enforcement, this and the FBI, that, and we're in our masjid, we gotta be quiet. No, you don't. Especially if you're born and raised here, you don't gotta be quiet. Everybody in America is saying what they want to say. Every other community is out of the closet. We're the only group of people in America that's still in the closet. Why? Everybody else is marching down the street and they're proud of whoever they are and they wave their flags. And we're afraid to be Muslim. And it's not even ethnicity or race or nationality. It's not our group. You don't need to join our group and carry our flag. It's the faith and the lifestyle that Allah chose for humanity. The creator of all of us. Boston was not a city. America was not a country when this was true. It's not even a 1400-year-old tradition. It's not even goes back to Adam. Before Allah created all the human beings and the angels and the jinn and the heavens and the earth, Allah wrote it as a fact of the reality of I'm trying to find the bigger word. It's just the reality of the universe. The reality of bigger than the universe is that there's one creator, created the whole universe, and Muhammad ﷺ is his final messenger. Islam is the faith and the lifestyle that the creator chose for humanity. It's for white people, it's for black people, it's for brown people. It's for the immigrants and for those who are indigenous. It's for people, it's for Native Americans, it's for people from Africa and from Asia and Europe, it's from everybody. If you're gay or straight, Islam is for you. If you're rich or poor, Islam is for you. If you landed on Plymouth Rock or Plymouth Rock landed on you, Islam is for you. And Islam goes way older than that, it's way bigger than that. It transcends Democrats and Republicans and left and right. Bunch of nonsense. Human beings love to make up our own groups and make up our own labels and judge people based on it. We spend our whole lives arguing about stuff that to some extent doesn't exist. And to some extent we need to get past it and overcome it and build better than it. Worship is a lot wider than just our prayers in the masjid. So are we doing our job? Don't worry about all the other groups. The Zionists this and Israel is that and this country this and this government that and these people this and they don't like us and the LGBT communities. You know how many times I constantly hear in my work in the community, every time I visit a high school, everyone asks, what about the LGBT? What about them? They're living their life. They're proud of who they are. Are you proud of who you are? If you share with the world that this is what I believe and this is who I am and so on, in America, generally you'll be okay. In fact, you might have a good life. You might get speaking engagements. God forbid. God forbid you go and speak in different places and you tell people why you're proud of what you believe in. Instead you're at home on your social media, oh, the LGBT. You think the LGBT community is stopping you from being proud of being Muslim? How does that make sense? And what? It makes no sense. Like, America is a country where people agree to disagree. And Muslims, we don't know how to agree to disagree. We like to argue with each other in every masjid in every country, all over the world and all over America, in Ramadan, every day we've argued about 15 different things, every day, all day. And we don't move forward, we don't just some things you just need to agree to disagree. If Allah wanted everyone in the world to be Muslim and to be practicing and following the Sunnah, He would have done that. That's not how, it's never going to be like that, it never was like that. Right? I'm not telling you, agree to disagree as in, not have principles and values and not care about aqeedah, not people to give da'wah and not be upset that other people are following the wrong path. I'm not saying any of that. I clearly don't believe those things. I'm telling you, agree to disagree as in, you can move past things. You can still live your life and you can still navigate, you can still build yourself up, you can still lead, you can still build institutions in America and support campaigns and causes that you care about and promote your beliefs, even if it goes against other people's beliefs, that's fine, let them deal with it. Why are you the one who's still in the closet? Why are you the one who's still afraid to be yourself? Allah created us for a reason. It's to worship Allah and to spread the worship of Allah on this planet. Our purpose is to call people to worship Allah and to call people to the worship of Allah. to dismantle a global white supremacist system and encourage humanity to worship and to bow down to their creator. Please, no inferiority complexes. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. We'll open it up for Q&A, inshallah. Any questions, comments, concerns? Nothing's off the table. If I don't know, I'll say I don't know. There's a lot that I don't know. And forgive me for drinking water. I'm traveling, yeah? It's an honor, brother. Questions, comments, concerns? On the way here, I came from the airport, right? My Uber driver was Latino. He's from Guatemala. And he saw my name, and I said a couple words like, oh, my mom was from Palestine, and a little bit, I know some basic Spanish. And he said, I'm from Guatemala. I asked him, how is it? Basic Spanish. How is Guatemala? It's a little bit tough, And then he started talking to me about Islam and stuff, because I said, I was like, my parents are, my mom was Palestinian, and the president of El Salvador, which a lot of Latinos look up to, is a president who's trying to clean up the streets and stuff. He's from Palestine as well. He's Muslim. So I gave a little bit of dawah, but then I was like tired and exhausted. So I didn't say much. I said like literally 3 sentences. Then the second half of the ride, he was telling me, oh, I have a Muslim friend. And in Boston and Chicago and New York and LA, everyone knows at least some Muslims, right? Half of Americans have never met a Muslim, but the other half they have. They probably know good things. He started telling me how he knows that, oh, Jesus is a prophet, not a God, and that there's only one God. And he's like, I believe it. He basically was Muslim, but no one even invited him to accept Islam. So just one example to answer your question is your colleagues, your co-workers, your Uber drivers, the restaurants you go to, your classmates, you have 4 years studying for hours a day as a medical student, and you think Allah will not ask you if you didn't even say a few words to them, or at least they saw you pray? I don't know. I'm not going to say that's necessarily haram, because haram is the least of the hellfire. That's major. But my gut tells me that if you have 4 years in school, and undergrad or med school, and there's students around you that didn't know you're Muslim, or you never said a single word about Islam to them, in America, in our context, and it's a safe environment, you're in college campuses, everyone's talking about everything. Like I said, we're the only group that's still in the closet. Like everyone is proudly supporting what they believe in, and they post about it, and they talk about it, and they share it, they share buttons and flyers, and they have shirts and t-shirts and hoodies. The short answer to your question, as I'm saying, is continue to be proud of who you are. I know you are, brother. I know that everywhere you go, everyone knows you're Muslim. But a lot of us in our community, I'm assuming you're not from the immigrant Muslim community, a lot of them are ashamed to tell anyone that they're Muslim. So their colleagues and classmates and co-workers and neighbors, they don't know they're Muslim for 30, 40, 50 years. They came to America in college, let's say in their 20s. They die here in their 70s. They're buried in the Muslim cemetery. 50 years, no one knows they're Muslim. Allah might ask them, like, you didn't say a few words? Could you lose your job? It's not likely. It's possible. In college campus, you're going to get kicked out of a university for telling people that you're Muslim? No, it's not going to happen. At Harvard, MIT, and Boston University, there's no way. I know because I've prayed publicly in campuses around the country. I've yet to visit Harvard and MIT, inshallah, tomorrow. But I've prayed on college campuses around the country and gave da'wah too, on video and off video, to Muslim students, non-Muslim students, both. College campuses around the country. College campus is the place to tell people. So if you want to do something, go to a college campus and talk to people. Just talk to people. Everyone there's talking. Everyone's recording videos. Everyone's doing giveaways. Create a YouTube channel and tell people about Islam. Easy way. And if you don't have that personality, if you're not the person that likes to just go up to strangers, it's fine. The majority of people are not like that. It's fine. The answer to you of what you can do is you find someone else that does that. Your MSA has one kid that's very active. Support them. Like, how can I help you? You work together. It's a team. Not everyone has to be in front of the camera. Maybe you're ideal to be behind the camera. Make sense? Imagine if Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali and so on had social media. I mean, Muhammad Ali did have social media. Did you guys know that a few years before Muhammad Ali passed away, a few years ago he passed away, up until he passed away, he was tweeting against Trump? Do you guys know that Trump and Muhammad Ali were both rich and famous in their 20s? They knew each other for those 50 years. So when Trump was saying nonsense about like Muslims and they hate us and Muslims coming to America, Muhammad Ali was like, yo, you know that's a bunch of lies. You know Muslims your whole life. You're purposely lying just to get the vote, right? But imagine if Malcolm X had social media at his time. He had the attention of newspapers around the world. Now a lot of them were biased against him, saying nonsense about him and his movement of the Nation of Islam. But imagine if he had social media where you can control your own narrative. You can share the story, and people can choose to share it or not share it. The algorithm can be for you or against you. But no one's like changing your own post. You know what I'm saying? The newspaper has you and your title and your face and your speech on there, but they say whatever they want about it, and then people have to find you to ask you about the truth. That's a tough time to be in the 60s and 70s. But in our times, you can choose to share your own news. Every day you can have multiple headlines about you and your group and your message and your community and your beliefs on 10, 15 different platforms. I try to regularly post on Rumble and Twitter and Getter and Twitch. I haven't been active on Twitch. And YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. And I know a lot of other younger people are more active than I am, but all these are free. They can take 30 seconds to post. Say that I'm proud to be Muslim. Hashtag Muslim. Easy. Hashtag Ramadan Mubarak. It's not that hard. You all have smartphones. You all know better than me what you can do. There's a lot you can do. If you don't want to be in front of the camera, maybe you can be behind the camera. If you're not the one who just speaks at speaking engagements, you can be like the sister Asid who invited me to speak. And she gets all the ajr for any good that I said and all the nonsense that I did during the speech, before the speech and after the speech. Right? When I go clubbing tonight, astaghfirullah, I'm just kidding, right? But if I go clubbing tonight, she don't get the sins for that. She invited me to speak at the masjid. She gets all the good deeds. So maybe you're the behind the scenes kind of person. Maybe you're not the public personality. Malcolm X had his sister who helped him do Hajj. A lot of us don't know her name, right? But she got all the good deeds for his Hajj. Muhammad Ali had a whole ton of people around him. The Nation of Islam and the Imam Wardi Muhammad community that broke off from them. Think of all the moms that were involved in those masajid and temples and schools and stuff around the country. You don't have to know all their names. Not everyone knows Elijah Muhammad and Imam Wardi Muhammad and Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali and Louis Farrakhan. These are names we know. And Umar Sulaiman, Yasir Qadhi and Suhaib Wabin. But how about all the people that helped them become who they are? Taught them, and inspired them, and motivated them, and invited them, and encouraged them, and got their kids to attend their classes. There's a lot you can do. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, brother. I know. Very excited. You're right. May Allah bless you, brother. I appreciate it. It means a lot, brother. If you don't mind, how long have you been Muslim? How long have you been Muslim? If you don't, 17. 30 years, 40, 50? 40 years, 50 years? Over 50 years, mashallah. So you have story. You should be the one giving the talk. I should be recording the video. May Allah bless you and protect you. Feel free to share any advice you have with us. Any comments, questions, concerns, the MSA? Bismillah. Yeah, it's a good point. We don't want to be those Muslims that will tell anyone that Islam is whatever it is you want there to be. Like there's no rules and everything is right and it is like you gotta stand for something. You can't stand for nothing. But you also don't want to be the Muslim that makes people think that you have to be perfect before you enter the masjid, because or else I wouldn't be invited. Or you have to be perfect before you convert. Unless you do all the 5 pillars and you have no sins and nothing, and then you convert. Neither of those things are true. Neither of those are true. Try to have a big smile. You're on college campuses. There's people from all over the world and they're doing all sorts of stuff. And you know this. Be the person on campus known to have a big smile, who talk to everyone and go eat with anyone who is willing to eat with you and talk to them in between classes, and you carry their books and you help them out and you're friendly and everyone knows you. But you invite them to come to your khutbah and your talk and your MSA, and in the khutbah, you have an interesting talk where it's like edgy in a good way. Like we believe, like you stand for something. Like every khutbah, you bring up a topic that like we have a view on things. Like we have liberals and conservatives in America, and everyone knows what they generally believe in. We're a third space. We're independent. Who said at the very beginning? The slave mindset, not being independent. Be independent thinkers. We have our own opinions on things. We have our own lifestyle. We're not left wing or right wing, right? We're not atheist or Christian. We're Muslim. We're not left wing or right wing. We're Muslim. Yeah. So get them to come to events and realize that we're different. We have an alternative, and we have actually the superior way of life. We have an alternative and a superior way of life. We have something that we're proud of. We have our own lifestyle. We have our own way of moving, talking, acting, walking, dressing. And we have reasons for why we do all these things. You know how amazing that is that we have reasons for pretty much everything. I know some things in our Islam is about just submitting to Allah, yes, but even that, there's good reasons for that. But think about the majority of people that are around here in Boston, they're walking around really fast. School, work, class, whatever, they're going to be 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, 70 before you know it. They went from work to school to maybe they built up their resume and they went and they got a job and they go home and then Friday nights they do whatever, Saturday nights. But do they really know why they're doing what they're doing? No, they don't. You give people purpose. Be on campus. Be friendly with everyone. Go talk to all the student organizations. Don't look at anyone and be like the way they dress, the way they talk, and the way they move. That like they're not for like this is your brother and sister in humanity. Even if you're not even sure if they're a brother or sister, they're still a human being. Even if they've gone through these surgeries, you mentioned like trans. Even if they've been through surgeries or done things that you think is unacceptable, or even if they're spreading an ideology they think is bad for your kids or family or anti-family or anti-marriage, just examples. There's other examples. Even if they are white supremacists and they're on your campus, it doesn't matter. They're still a human being, and that's whatever they are or believe in today. Tomorrow can be different. You can change. They can change. And your goal isn't to necessarily make them change them in all the like. We have a hard time changing ourselves. Like let's admit we commit sins as well, right? Thank God Allah doesn't judge us for every sin and like hold us to account for every sin and He's forgiving. But looking at them from the eyes of like these are all their mistakes and all the ways they need to change before they're good enough like us. See, I said no inferiority complexes, but also no arrogance. Instead, look at them as human beings, and your goal, as best as you can, the short window of life, try to get them closer to God. See how they can. If someone is gay, just as an example, someone's homosexual, and you're like have an organization that feeds the homeless. You shouldn't stop. You don't ask people who they are when you're giving them food, right? You don't ask them whether they're Muslim or not Muslim, gay or straight. And if someone wants to join you in feeding the homeless, you shouldn't ask either. Who cares? It could be a good opportunity for them to maybe then attend a khutbah. Have events that are like more wider and open and allow everyone to come in. You have your Friday sermons and your halaqas and your durus, which is gonna have like 20 people. Khutbahs are a little bit wider. You have prayers, but you also should have like service events across the city of Houston. Like you go. I keep saying Houston, but go across Boston, you go and serve different people, trips and travels and go to the park and do things that are fun that other people on campus might join you even if they're not Muslim, but the kids are curious. Have like circles of Bring people in. Be friendly. It makes sense? Yes? No? Did I kind of answer your question? Not an easy question, but we can talk about it, inshallah. I'm here for the next couple of days, and we're visiting a number of campuses, inshallah. We'll talk. Yeah. Don't look down on anyone, but also don't be ashamed of who you are. So don't look up to anyone, don't look down on anyone. You'll be okay, inshallah. Try your best to get people closer to God. And God accepts people that are not even close to being perfect, like us. So you can't be like, you can't join my MSA or come to our mosque until you're perfect. Anything else? Yes, sir. At your service. Mm. Yeah. You've interacted with a lot of Muslims that feel they're better than other people, yeah? Yeah, we've interacted with Muslims that feel they're better than people. Maybe because they have maybe they're like top doctor in the city, or top pharmacist, or top lawyer in the city. They're one of the best engineers in the city. So now, yeah. Some of us Muslims need to be humbled. We're not the top of the country though. We're not the top of the city. Engineers and doctors are working professionals. We're skilled, highly skilled laborers. It's not a bad thing, and there's good incomes and good salaries, and there's a lot of stability and security associated with it. But we don't make the decisions. Okay, how about this? I'll try to be positive, yeah? I know your question, it's a beautiful question, inshallah. I'll try to be positive. We have room for improvement. That's how you humble yourself. We have a lot of room for improvement. Muslims are 1% of America, but we're 10% of the doctors. Muslims are 1% of America, but we're 10% of the doctors. It's a beautiful stat. It's something to be proud of. It's great. Doctors, people respect their doctors. But they're highly skilled laborers. They're like, someone else can come and do your job, like you're a doctor. But like, you went through a certain education, you followed a path, you didn't create the path. You're not a business person that like no one can replace because you built a company that the whole world now needs, like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Look, this is one of the biggest messages in America, right? This was on Instagram, it said this is the biggest masjid in New England. Is that correct? It's the biggest masjid like Northeast. So in one of the most, if not the most important region of the US, and the US is by far the most influential country in the world. We're in one of the biggest masjids, or the biggest masjid, right? But how many great men and women have come out of this masjid? I'm sure a number of them, but how many? The Prophet ﷺ didn't go around the world and build big masjids. We're proud of ourselves and we have a big mindset because we think we built masjid around the country. We came from other countries, we built masjid. We think like we're done, like we reached it's the wrong mindset. We're supposed to be looking at how much did we impact real people? How many homeless people did we get off the street? How many people were homeless in Boston, but the Muslim community came? They're no longer homeless, but now they're actually studying deen, and now they're teaching, now they're imam of a masjid somewhere. Like a whole transition, right? You got them, they're no longer, they've cleaned themselves up, but also spiritually they cleaned themselves up. They have different addictions, and then they were hungry and thirsty, and they were dependent, now they're independent. They have a job, they're an entrepreneur. Now they're an imam and a business person, or maybe even a politician in another city or in Boston, but they started off homeless. We should be proud of ourselves. We want to look down on other people when we haven't even really like uplifted people. It makes no sense. How many Muslims are in Boston, the greater Boston area, roughly? How many Muslims in the greater Boston area? Tens of thousands, I'm sure, right? How many Muslims in the greater Boston area? You guys have a rough idea? 50K? 20? 50K? Muslims in the greater Boston area? Tens of thousands? Maybe it doesn't. Houston and Dallas, cities that I know, have like 200,000, but I'm gonna assume like at least tens of thousands, right? But when politicians discuss things and big business people and businessmen, when big business people in Boston and big politicians in Boston and DC and New York and so on discuss how many Muslims are like part of those are sitting at those tables and how many Muslims have a say, and when people make decisions, are they thinking about the Muslims? Do we have that level of impact and influence and so on that people actually care about our opinions and actually listen to us? Again, 1% is not an excuse because 1% can lead the 99%. But do they really care about it? So we're already arrogant, not just confident. We need a lot of us, the immigrant Muslims, we have an issue with confidence. But we are arrogant, but we haven't even reached the level of where we're actually influential. So that's interesting. And a person like that, Allah will not make you truly influential in a good way. You cannot be truly influential, but in a good, pushing in the right direction, until you've humbled yourself to a certain extent. Muhammad Ali had to go through a lot before he became Muhammad Ali. So we're arrogant and not confident, which is almost like a dichotomy. And we're not super influential, but we think we've accomplished everything. Why we built big, huge masajid. With all due respect, it's a beautiful masjid. But big masajid, but in Boston, how many Muslims in Boston are names that people know around the world? They've influenced different segments of Boston. I'm trying to think of a name. I'm sure there's probably an athlete. Houston and Chicago have athletes. Houston, New York, Atlanta. A city like Boston has been here for hundreds of years. And Muslims, how long have Muslims been in Boston? How long have Muslims been in the US? But real quick, how long have Muslims been in what is now the US? Not your parents and my parents. My parents came 80s and 90s. A lot of us parents came in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. But how long have Muslims been in the US? 100 years, 200 years? 400 plus years. Boston was a city, but the US, actually probably even before Boston was a city, Muslims were here. And the US was not the United States of America. Before the US was the US, Muslims were in these lands. God. 80,000 Muslims in Greater Boston. But how many of those are names that people know around Boston? How many of those are names people know around the US, around the world? Be humble yourself to Allah so He elevates you so you become influential at that level. And then let's discuss